I gotta figure this out. Because today, we're talking about villains. Yay! Or more like, ha 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 ha! And thank God, because Christ, protagonists can be dull. Oh my God! I want to take a closer look at Strickler, from part 1 of Dreamworks' recent Netflix series, Trollhunters. But I guess the first question is, how do you review a villain? I mean, really, their only real job is being threatening enough to obstruct the protagonist from reaching their goals. Well, that doesn't sound too hard. So, my question is, how did we go from this...
You were followed?
Of course not. I brought you a midnight snack.
to this?
If you want to save your mother's life, you have to protect me.
How did this happen? Okay, first, let's meet this guy. Besides his lifelong passion for part-time villainy, Walter Strickler is also a history teacher at the high school attended by Jim, our 15-year-old protagonist, who I'm gonna do my damnedest to completely ignore. More to the point, these two get along. Heck, not only do they get along, but Jim is evidently one of Strickler's favorite students. He makes extra effort to mentor him.
You fell asleep between the invasion of Attica and the Peace of Nicaeus, and your attention wandered for the rest of the class. If you fancy, Miss Nunez, I submit that talking to will be much more effective than staring at.
Not that I wasn't staring at you all class. Even before he knows what Jim is so preoccupied with, he seems to genuinely care about his well-being.
Do you have a minute?
Are you all right? You have a lot on your shoulders. Too much, in my opinion, for someone your age. But it's as a great poet once wrote, do what's good for you, or you're not good for anybody.
So, when Strickler finds out his favorite student has been chosen as the Trollhunter, the one entity that can disrupt his evil plans, you'd think that'd be the perfect concoction of elements to generate conflict and suddenly render this character as infinitely more engaging than your typical villain who's just peeved because they weren't invited to dinner.
I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
Anyway, let's see this conflict in action.
Why aren't I feeling his neck snap in my hands right now?
That certainly wouldn't draw any attention. This will require finesse.
But that was it? Hey, let's kill him now, maybe later? That's what we're working... Okay. The handsome one is Bular, son of Gunmar the evil troll overlord that they are trying to unleash on the world.
I only respect force.
And I respect your father. If you want any chance of ever seeing him again, adapt.
Oh, that got personal. Right in the daddy issues. So, let's see what made this character work in the first place, before...
You're my only hope.
Terrible things happened. Now, Strickler's fluctuating state of control is, I think, part of what makes him so interesting.
Haven't you ever heard the best hiding place is in plain sight?
Don't patronize me. Impure.
One minute he's under Bular's thumb, and the next...
You're late.
And you're impatient.
Total control again.
I was waiting for another package to arrive.
Oh my god, that apple catch. Play it again.
To arrive.
Look at it. Look at that! Oh my god, it's glorious!
You were followed?
Of course not. I brought you a midnight snack.
Besides how delightfully fun and hammy he gets to be, this guy's basically a murderer. I know I'm a lot harder on murderers usually, but they're not this fun. Which brings me to the next million-dollar question. Never mind, should you, but how do you make a murderer appealing? Well, there's the tried-and-true objectification tactics. Jim's mother, Barbara, likes him.
There must be some way I can repay you. Coffee, dinner, appendix removal.
And she's a doctor. Everyone trusts doctors. Real ones. Or at the very least, she's a better character witness than this idiot. And crucially, Barbara isn't a random one-off character whose sole purpose is propping up Strickler's appeal in the cheapest, laziest way possible.
You clearly are connected. Don't ever lose him.
Please, call me Barbara.
Barbara, delighted to meet you.
And he seems to be genuinely interested back.
A coffee would be a delight.
It's there if you're looking for it, otherwise... Yeah, it's subtle. Plus, they, very cleverly realizing that we know he's a killer at this point, they have Barbara ask him out. which leaves room for us to give him the benefit of the doubt as to whether or not he's just using her to get to Jim.
He really likes you.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
More changelings?
What good would it be to bring another?
Be quiet, impure.
The ultimate equalizer.
In case we're ever one changeling short.
Crummy bosses. Turns out resentment at being told to shut up and sit down is so universal, it can grant a murdering sociopath instant appeal. I may have just killed that guy, it doesn't mean I don't need a hug.
I've just confirmed the worst. Gladys Grow has been slain.
Well, and the impure served her purpose. Her job was done.
I'd advise you to care for those you employ.
I'd advise you from one villain to another to stop being so evil. He's also a changeling rights activist undercover on the front lines. That's adorable. This is like the greatest hits collection of empathy for villains. So I think at this point, the character really works. He's got a ton of conflicting strings of motivation, tugging in all sorts of directions. They've really done the legwork on this guy. He's really fun and he's interesting.
Another changeling has been chosen.
And look who it is.
Spectacular. The only thing is, Strickler and Jim, our protagonist, remember him? They don't have much to do with each other anymore. Like, I know I said I would ignore Jim, but it shouldn't have been this easy.
Hey, thanks for the advice. I like talking to you.
Always.
That was the first episode. That was 6-7 episodes ago. Besides episode 1, Jim has been kind of just generally irritated with him ever since. Which, it's not like that doesn't make sense. His mom is dating his teacher. That's weird. But the father-son student-teacher dynamic was fresh and interesting and gave them both another dimension. Speaking of which, let's check up on that whole kill, not kill Jim conflict thing.
We agreed that any attempt on the boy's life would bring too much scrutiny.
That was a weak, uncreative, borderline pathetic technicality, and it deserves some respect! Either he genuinely doesn't care if this kid lives or dies, or this is a terrible plan.
But from now on, my son will be giving the orders.
Oh, look at that! Bloody favoritism!
Yes, in a remarkable turn of events, once these two manage to partially open the bridge to talk to Bular's father, Gunmar, the evil troll overlord, Gunmar dismisses Strickler, sends him to bed without supper, and puts his son back in charge. What did you think was gonna happen?
What has become of Strickler? He appears to have grown soft. In his human guise, he has become the boy's teacher. I believe he has affection for the child.
As much as I'd like to believe that, I think Bular's gotta be working with an old script, because, why? Because the 3 instances they happen to be in the same group setting?
You question his loyalty. I do, Father. Call it a test.
Oh, a test?
So that when the time comes, you will kill the boy and free me with his amulet.
Alright, we're finally gonna find out. The conflicts are coming to a head. Let's check in with the protagonist.
Look at that. He's got the whole class eating out of his hand. His creepy troll hand.
Now, Bular just tipped Jim off that Strickler is in fact a changeling.
You did what?
I called him Young Atlas.
But I call him that. He'll know I'm working with you.
Our protagonist has just discovered how close the enemy truly is.
I trusted him. He betrayed me. And worst of all, he hit on my mother. I should end him now.
Okay, wow. It's a bit of a departure for you, Jim. I'm sorry, he's not usually that much of a dickhead. We're gonna have to step through that bullshit by bullshit.
And I trusted him.
What trust? You didn't trust this idiot? When? That one time 10 episodes ago? You've been annoyed and aggravated at his very presence in your life ever since.
Guess who brought tea?
Oh, not Strickler.
Oh, not that guy I trust. Why? Because your friend suggested that Strickler could be a changeling?
You, try this out on Mr. Strickler? What if Strickler's one of them?
But noble Jim, the great delayer of timely revelation, said no! Not this man.
Come on, you really think he is one? Strickler's been teaching history since the dawn of history. If he's one, I'm one.
No, this man is good. This man is old I'm sorry, granting Strickler a banal benefit of the doubt from afar is not the same as trusting him, and it's certainly not enough to warrant a betrayal.
I trusted him. He betrayed me.
Oh my god, you guys, like, there was this one time Strickler was nice to me. So it's like pretty much a complete betrayal.
And worst of all, he hit on my mother. I should end him now.
Just like, oh my god, I have to go get my big sword. And I'm gonna, like, stab you with it. He betrayed you? No, he didn't. And that's the problem. You weren't going to Strickler for advice or counsel. He wasn't someone you trusted or relied on. He had no role in your life.
Take care of your back, young Atlas.
Just because he gave you a cute pet name doesn't mean he was actually helping you with all of the stress in your life.
And worst of all, he hit on my mother.
Okay. I know Jim is a kid. He's allowed to be immature, but he's also supposed to be smart, insightful, and genuinely care about his mother's happiness.
I like taking care of you.
He's taking Strickler's involvement with his mother, which by and large has been her idea.
So, Mr. Strickler, he seems very nice. Is he single?
What?
As a personal attack. Which feels super possessive, really out of character and entirely the wrong tone. Let me just explain the context here. Jim just found out Strickler has influence in nearly every aspect of his life, and is a changeling. One of these, who has nearly killed him twice, and who works with this guy, who's almost killed you, I've lost count, and his response to this is to take it personally?
He hit on my mother.
This is an affront to my dignity. How dare you, sir? He could kill everyone, you idiot! Whatever happened to always be afraid? And now a montage!
Rule number 1
Is to always be afraid. Be afraid?
should always be afraid.
Always be afraid.
Always be afraid.
Always be afraid.
Strickler's boss nearly killed you last episode because you were ignoring the always be afraid rule. Remember that?
I should end him now.
This should not be, oh good, a henchman, something I can punch. Nor should it be, I knew it, stepdads are evil. It should be, primarily at least, oh shit, I'm surrounded, my loved ones are in danger, and I may be totally incapable of protecting them. Why are you talking about Jim, you might ask? Because Strickler is Jim's antagonist. He's the force obstructing Jim from accomplishing his goals.
Your mother has invited me over for dinner. I've graciously accepted.
He can't do that if his own protagonist doesn't take him seriously.
Mr. Strickler,
Please, my friends call me Walt.
what do your enemies call you?
If he doesn't pose a genuine threat to anything Jim cares about.
So I said to my co-worker, I brought you a midnight snack.
Strickler isn't scary because he's been hiding a dangerous secret under everyone's noses. There's no more tension or intrigue. It's more like he's now just a convenient outlet for the jealousy and possessiveness that's already feeding Jim's mistrust of Strickler in the first place. Makes it feel kind of like evil stepfather wish fulfillment. Jim doesn't like Strickler for getting close to his mother, and then finds out he's evil. Hooray! We've learned nothing.
The superintendent's son.
He sounds like a real monster.
Yes, I know.
How much do you know?
You didn't know. I knew, but now you know. I know.
I'm sorry. Did you check your mystique at the door?
Oh, I guess we both know.
If I can't get you to hand over the amulet, I should kill you.
That's funny. I was just thinking the same thing.
Are you enjoying this? Really? This 16-year-old kid who's had a sword for a month? This is a good challenge for you? You are a 1,000-year-old troll creature! Stop acting like you're a kid in his class who's beating him at Pokemon!
I know what you're capable of. I know you have a thing for Claire, and I know you'd do anything for Toby.
Yes, all of those things are true. Does it matter? You're supposed to have a thing for Barbara and a soft spot for this damn kid. Steak knife to the face. Fantastic. What was that thing Bular said?
He has affection for the child.
Well, was he wrong? Behold, my steak knife of affection. So this is a two-way conflict fail. Neither of them are being challenged in any way. Jim isn't afraid, and Strickler isn't holding back.
Woo! I just need a second.
This is all about Barbara, isn't it? Like, all of it. We just needed some sort of excuse for a showdown. Actually, I know what will resolve this. Hang on. "60 centimeters, 24 inches of pure precision score setting. You won't even have to take turns."
Enough! Time to teach my star pupil a new lesson.
Could you do it in a longer loincloth? That's the extent of your villain wardrobe, is it? Bula? Does this turtleneck say villain? What about this loincloth? What do you think? Evil? And not only does he not hold back, he kinda sucks.
Where's the bridge?
I'm sorry, are you not made of stone?
We can't expect everything to go our way.
It's alright, evil minion. I know you did your best. I still love you. And what is that? There's nothing more horrifying than the sight of a man in a sling. Villains don't get slings. They get mechanical arms or scars or something to represent their impending revenge on your ass. Not a sling!
But I got what was most important. I control the chaos.
You don't. You really don't.
How about you tell me where the bridge is, and I'll leave your head attached to your body?
Control would be playing the dinner straight, not giving in to the goading, empty threats of a teenager.
The fake has been planted.
All you wanted to do was plant a fake amulet? You could have done that while he was asleep, or at school, or, gotten not Enrique to do it, and, kept the whole trying not to kill you promise thing alive, because this...
Gunma is inevitable. You are always my favorite, don't you see? I'm only trying to protect you.
Don't you see these are daggers of concern? Whatever happened to this?
Any attempt on the boy's life would bring too much scrutiny.
This will require finesse.
Unless by finesse you mean bullshit.
But now you know. I know.
In case you forgot, that wasn't your idea.
You did what? I called him Young Atlas.
But now you know. I know.
None of this was my plan. What you gonna do, kid?
Bula called you Young Atlas to force this very moment.
You should be terrified to know that my boss is playing me like a drafty, stony green fiddle.
He told me if I can't get you to hand over the amulet, I should kill you.
Like, seriously, when he says jump, I've tried everything. Plus, Jim doesn't even know what he doesn't know. He thinks this...
Pathetic that you meet your end in a sewer, Young Atlas.
...was a slip of the tongue.
Do you think Strickler knows you're the troll hunter?
Bular called me Young Atlas. Only Strickler calls me that. Of course he knows. But he doesn't know we're on to him.
He thinks Bular did that by accident. Your villain can't be scary if your protagonist is too stupid to know when he's being manipulated. Everyone, we've received a ransom note. Luckily for us, he doesn't realize he licked the stamp, took it to the post office, and mailed it to me personally. He'll never see us coming. Jim seemed to be the only one totally in control the entire dinner, which, in my mind, diffuses the tension to zero. Jim's only prerequisite for this dinner was to be smug and right. Meanwhile, Strickler had to come back with an amulet or die, I guess. Like, come on, challenge each other with real things that we know you can actually do, show. Oh, I'm gonna kill Jim. No, you're not. And I know you're probably thinking, this episode is amazing. Why are you being so hard on it? And I am being really hard on it, because the first time I saw it, I loved it. It's really fun, it's funny, and it is tense. Until you realize none of it pans out. As soon as it's over...
It should be interesting now that we've gotten to know each other so well.
It'll be a shame when I won't have you for a teacher anymore.
Nobody has anything to work with. The way this is set up, the only direction we can go from here is Jim now has a big bad guy to go after, and Strickler now is that one-dimensional big bad guy. You nixed old conflicts, but neglected to actually create new ones. They are both way less interesting now that the flimsy promise of some sort of meaningful dynamic between them turned out to be basically empty stalling tactics. Our permanent plan of action will be to keep Jim alive temporarily. Unless these are all remnants of a previous version of the story in which Jim and Strickler were allies, were secretly working together behind Boular's back, because none of this makes any sense otherwise. It would certainly explain why this bit feels like play fighting, in that they're trying it, hilariously failing to convince us, or more likely Boular, looking through the window, because he does that they're totally for serious, bitter rivals, everyone. But as it is, Strickler's kind of just an aimless, disjointed henchman, whom we're meant to think is scheming, but doesn't seem to have anything resembling an endgame.